nice to be back here with you again. Nice to see you on this beautiful day. This time with a quote by James Clear again, where he writes, "Exerting more effort doesn't help if you're on the wrong trajectory. For example, working harder on the wrong thing just wastes more time. Learning more from a biased source will lead you further away from the truth. Doubling down on a toxic relationship only sets you up for more headaches. Before you try harder, make sure you're walking a path that leads where you want to go." So, what do you think about that, man?
Great to be back, my friend. This is a very important admonition and kind of a counterbalance to another really important admonition, which is the importance of the bias for action. And there is really this golden mean in our path between two extremes. The one extreme that I would say is the most common is the fear-based, repressed think, and use more analysis as an excuse for not making ourselves vulnerable and taking risks and pushing forward with action. But it's also totally true, those of us who have learned to overcome this locked still by analysis and overthinking, many times we'll find ourselves on the other end of this spectrum where we are acting and we find ourselves doing things that are not moving us in the right direction. We are full of action, we're full of effort, we are exerting ourselves fully, we are working hard at this or that, and we are taking risks, but they're the wrong risks. They're misguided in some way, or we're applying effort in a misguided way. And he's pointing us back toward the mean, or the golden mean of, yes, we must take action in the world, but we should be thoughtful and intentional about that action. We should recognize also that we are we we are the easiest person to fool, and that it is completely expected that we will find ourselves barking up the wrong tree at various points or applying our efforts in a way that is not productive. And it's necessary even that we run many experiments, and we have to open this door to see what's behind it. We must start down a path to begin to have a point of view at where it might land. And it takes a degree of awareness in our life to see that, okay, yes, it is okay that I have taken this risk or started to apply effort in this direction out of a lack of clear visibility about the fruits of what this will yield. But once I am walking down the path, it is so important that we can have awareness to see that I've started on this path, I have begun to climb up this mountain. Now that I am above the cloud that was shielding me from being able to see the top of this mountain, now I have visibility. And we must have the flexibility and the awareness to recognize that this actually isn't the mountain that I should be climbing. And so I should go back down this mountain and find a different mountain. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it is the right mountain and we want to see all the way through to the end. But we must have awareness in our relationships, in our financial pursuits or career pursuits, in what we are learning, and what I think is more and more relevant today, in the things that we are, quote, learning. The part of this that stood out to me the most, I think, upon first impact was this line about, if you remind me, what is the exact quote? If you are learning something that is misleading, you will find yourself further from the truth, something along these lines.
Learning from a biased source will lead you further from the truth.
Exactly. And this is something that I see all over the place. And it's so true that these memes, these ideas online, and these sources, these meme generators, so to speak, of the news channels, of the social media channels, the people that are making podcasts, the people that we follow on these various platforms, there is an evolutionary bias. Natural selection plays on this arena too, in the sense that the memes that are most likely to spread, the ones that are most likely to grow at a faster pace, tend to be the ones that are not optimizing for the truth, but rather are optimizing for shareability, for the stickiness in our minds, the degree to which these are sort of like bugs that infect our brains that we are more likely to spell and share because it riles up our reptile brains. And this is all over the place, and it's becoming a bigger and bigger thing, especially as the the objectivity of content has completely been thrown out the window by the power of generative AI, where you can make an image of anything, you can make a video of anything, you can make an audio clip of anyone saying anything with a perfect video that makes it look like they're actually saying it. You can make a video of Frank Sinatra stabbing Mickey Mouse in the chest and then going and flying a rocket to the moon and then coming back and reciting the Declaration of Independence and then predicting the future that that Nvidia was going to be the #1 market cap stock in 2025. You can do anything with generative AI, and so there's no objective trust of content in and of itself, and so the risk of being misled into being misled more and more into mistaking a fiction for reality is enormous right now, and it's not going away ever again. We will never be able to see a photo and know that it's actually a real image ever again. And so this intentionality, this awareness about what am I, quote, learning? Is this timely or is this timeless? What am I working on? Is this something that is leading me where I want to go? Do I want to win the prize of this game? Or am I at risk of playing a game for 30 years and recognizing it only afterwards that the prize never brought me happiness or peace or love? These are such important things to bring our awareness to, partly because of the finitude and brevity of our own life. And when we choose one thing, we are inherently choosing not to do 1,000 other things. How do you think about this mechanism of vision and of the ability to have the flexibility to see that we are on the wrong path or climbing the wrong mountain in some domain of our lives?
Well, the vision part is important because with that you define the trajectory of your life in terms of what is aligned with who you are at your core, what is aligned with your beliefs and your values. And here we are back again to the same old story. It has to be aligned with what you really want in life. And you have to be clear about that. So vision also means you cannot see through a puddle of mud. You have to find stillness so that the pond clears down, to have vision, to really see who you are at your core, who you are deep down. With that, the clarity is the prerequisite for the vision to be applied. And the vision breaks down to missions you may derive from that. In terms of, you see the top of the mountain, but how many valleys of despair will be in between this mountain? You never see it because maybe there is another half mountain and goes down the valley and very deep. So there's also the fundamental question before you start to climb. Make sure first it is the right mountain to climb for you. Second, don't start if you don't think you can make it through the valley of despair. So you have to have at least a little bit of passion in terms of hiking. You have to enjoy hiking. You have to enjoy the path in itself, the way, the challenge, and also maybe the rewards you anticipate when reaching the top of the mountain. It's never only about the top of the mountain. It's also about the climb. It's about trying and failing and learning again and improving and growing better. That's part of our human nature. That's what makes us human. We strive and struggle, we hope and fear, and we fall down, but we also get back up again. If we have this vision, if we have this clarity about the vision we want to see come to life, and if we apply the vision, then we also imagine possible futures, which are options, which show ourselves along the way we go. And the more then we think about it, we shouldn't try harder to climb a steep hill if when we take a step back we see an alternative path which also leads to the same outcome. It's this equifinality, the same outcome but reached on a different path. Life offers so many of these options which lead us to the same place but on a much more effortless route. If we not only try to punch through the wall, punch our head through the door, but take a step back sometimes and reflect and make sure that this path actually is right for us, is aligned with our abilities is aligned with the thing we want out of the journey. I mean, some people like to run up a mountain and down the hill. Some people like to enjoy the view and sit down more often. So there's a different optimization criteria that depends on yourself. What is a good life for you is the question. You have to have the optimization criteria to optimize for. And everybody is wired differently. And that's why now recently I reflected upon the Japanese concept of ikigai, which we previously talked about shortly, where you try to find things which you're passionate about, try to find things which can get paid in the world, try to find things which society needs, which society values, and also try to find things which are uniquely you, because you're unique. That's obvious. Everybody of us is unique, and our task in life is to uncover what is unique about us as well, partially, and then try to overlap these circles. And the more you get to the middle part, where all the circles overlap, the closer you are to what the Japanese call your ikigai. And if you live out what is inside the middle point, you have to do a lot of reflection to and experimentation to get closer to the middle. But some people in Japan, old people, they live a life where every day is flow for them. They do what they love and are passionate about. They do what they're uniquely made for to do. They do something which society values to a point and needs to a point where it pays very well, so that they can do the things they are made to do. They are brought on this world to do. And from that they have a path in life which they want to go, where they try and put effort in, but the reward comes also back. So this is the flow. This is the optimum of balance, I believe. What do you think about this kind of
One thing that
experimenting
stands,
to reach balance?
yeah, it's a great framework, this ikigai, and in fact, I'm excited to use it as a lens to just think on a deeper level about my own path and my own callings. What stands out to me in part is two of these questions are, what does the world need, and what will get paid? And it's obvious, thinking about that for 2 seconds, that those things change. And so even when we start up a mountain, even when we start down a path, it is true that maybe on year one, this is true about what the world needs. This is true about what will get paid. Let's say we start down the path of being a lawyer and we're making really good money because we have extremely high verbal intelligence and we're really good at writing documents. And what does the world need? What will get paid? And then all of a sudden there is this infinite free $20 a month verbal intelligence that's far better than 99% of lawyers and does a perfectly good job at drafting documents and giving strategies for regular stuff. And all of a sudden, what will get paid, what does the world need, completely changes. And so there's two things to react to this. There's the natural human tendency, and obviously lawyers are not the only example. There's a million things that humans currently do that 5 years ago the world really needed and the world paid good money for. Now, many people are now, last year, next year, discovering, waking up to the fact that, oh shit, the thing that I did that was my ikigai optimized path no longer is needed because it's completely abundant. It can be done just as well and instantly and for free. And therefore, it's not going to get paid. And so how do we react? There's kind of this natural human tendency for loss aversion. And I've noticed this in myself in the past. When I found myself barking up the wrong tree, I found myself in a relationship where I invested in it and realized that it sucked and it was really not good for me. Or I started some project that I invested time and energy and effort into. There's this natural human tendency of loss aversion to say that, oh, I put my effort into this, I put my resources into this, I invested in this in some way. I need to get something from it. I need to turn this loss into a win. And this natural tendency for attachment. We don't want to feel like we made a mistake and did something dumb or took a bad move. And if we look at it very narrowly among narrow criteria, our math will point us in that direction, and it will be upsetting, and our tendency will be to cling on to the sunk cost and to say, I've already put too much into this, I can't just throw it away now. Or even worse than throw it away, I've gone so far up this tree, or I've gone so far up this mountain, it's actually going to take effort to walk back down this mountain that I put so much effort walking back up to. This is upsetting to our natural psychology. This sunk cost fallacy, this natural tendency to not want to be stupid, and we have this story and this vision, and we are holding on to it, we are clinging onto it even when it's getting pulled away, or it's evaporating before our eyes. And I do think that first of all, this is natural. This will happen in our minds. We will notice this in ourselves, and then we will need to see, what do I do about this? How do I address this? Do we continue to try to blind ourselves and force it? And we probably will for some time. Hopefully, it is weeks and not decades that we try to force ourselves into blindness and try to deny reality. Eventually, we will need to, or we should, try to wake up and try to be aware and try to listen. And to your point about the dust settling, it is completely true that if we're constantly disturbing the mud by chattering over this and trying to superimpose our story over reality and deny reality, we are not going to be in a position of clarity. And another way to think about it is, if I'm constantly talking in my own brain and narrating everything and trying to superimpose my story over something, I'm not going to be in a place where I can actually listen. And listening is where we get our clarity, not from chattering over things. And a reframe tool that I think is important in our tool belt, because we will find ourselves having walked halfway up a mountain that we finally realize that we don't want to climb the rest of the way up, or we can't climb the rest of the way up. We'll have this sunk cost, this tendency for attachment, this natural instinct to want to blind ourselves and force it through as if we can change the nature of reality by just shutting our eyes and trying to deny it. A reframe tool on this is along the lines of what you talked about. If we are only valuing the destination and completely discarding any merit of the journey itself, then this will be upsetting to us. It will feel like we are losing from these situations. We will be powerfully tempted to either deny this, or for it to just feel like a disillusioning crash and burn of a heartbreak to have to walk down this mountain on this vision that we were attached to. And the alternative, in my view, or one helpful tool, is to recognize that life is not all about the destination. And we can see this in our past. When we've actually gotten what we wanted, we can see that it was fleeting. We can see that we then wanted another thing. We can see that the things that we experienced along the journey was actually 99% of the time. And in the same way, there are other fruits of our journeys, of these things that we try to learn, of these pursuits that we have in our relationships, in our careers, etc. Even a terrible romantic relationship has fruits that go beyond it. It is what we learned. It is the ways that we grew. It is the experiences that we had along the way, what it taught us about ourselves, the ways that it prepared us for what is in the future. Climbing halfway up a mountain may be exactly the training, and then having to go all the way back down may be exactly the training that we need to be better at identifying the right mountain. It may be exactly the training that we need to have more stamina to climb up the right mountain. And there is genuinely the actual lived experience of our lives, the days being an end of itself, and the growth and the learning are their own reward, even if we don't get this external, extrinsic fruit from XYZ things that we do. That's the nature of the game. You go all the way up a mountain and you pick the fruit from some things, and halfway up you recognize that there's no fruit at the top of this mountain. And so I'm better off seeing that from down here than spending another 2 years doing this, because I can spend that time, spend that energy climbing a different mountain if I can wake up and recognize where I actually am instead of trying to deny it. This is something that is so important because we have such limited time. There's such opportunity cost to continuing to try to blind ourselves to the path that we're actually on, rather than waking up and saying that, oh, I have new information here. It is time to shift my direction in my path, and time to forgive myself and let go of my attachments to, oh, I should be getting something from all that I have put into this, or, oh, I can't accept that I've sacrificed so much and now it is for nothing and now I have to unwind it, how humiliating, or whatever. If we can loosely hold our visions, because they might conflict with reality, and recognize that we have to negotiate with reality on reality's terms always, then it can give us a greater freedom and a flexibility to navigate far wiser, rather than continuing to pour more and more and more down something that is just not going to yield what we thought it was going to yield. We should wake up and recognize that this information is a gift. This information tells me something that I did not know in the past. I'm not where I thought I was. And it is an opportunity to fully accept that, fully surrender to reality if I want to zoom out and have the greater path of all the mountains that I climb be as fruitful as they can be. We must learn, and this embrace of the lessons that we learned along the way, this embrace of the ways that this trained us, the ways that this grew us, and this reframe of seeing that it is not just about what we do to this project or how we work on this project. It is also about the ways that this project works on us that we can truly embrace, especially because if we look at ourselves, we can see that we are not yet finished growing. We are not yet finished learning. There are real fruits and ways that we will be able to climb the next mountain so much better and identify the next mountain so much better because we have had this moment of having to go forward and backwards.
And you point towards the thing that the world is inherently dynamic, that change is the only constant that is happening, and also that, living through a relationship, it's always dynamic. You have not only one part that is moving, you have multiple parts that are moving. And if like the conditions change for a relationship to be fruitful, it doesn't invalidate everything which you experienced so far. It only says, okay, this point now in time is like a strategic inflection point where the change of the foundations is so big that something fundamental has to change, and therefore move on in a different direction, maybe separated, maybe to a different mountain, whatever. And so the environment can change, and your realizations can change. You can wake up to a certain kind of understanding that you didn't have before, and then decide for yourself that, okay, the thing that I was looking for is not the thing that I am looking for anymore. And that change, like you pointed towards that, it is inherently a dynamic thing, and everything changes. And now you know all the lawyer books out of your mind, and it is now invalidated with a large language model which knows all the books that any lawyer anywhere knows, and in an instant, and everybody has access to it. It even now can reason its way through. And I met a lawyer from India who uses ChatGPT a lot, just specified the type of law which is applicable to his region in India, and then he lets the model lay out the case and uses it and tweaks it a little bit. Is much faster than searching all the text by himself. So and you have this dynamic which you have to dance with, which you have to reevaluate every time. What does the world value now? What can get paid for now? Because everything changes. You had a music industry where you sold records in forms of CDs, maybe in forms of vinyl. Now it's only like a legacy market, vinyl. Now Spotify offers all the music for free, and then you have a fundamental shift in how musicians are able to make money. For that, you have to be strategic about it and often reflect upon these things. Is this still the right mountain? Is this still the right gear for the way I want to go? The terrain also changes. Maybe from steep cliffs now it's a muddy river you have to cross. Therefore you need to pack up different gear. So the essence of it is embracing the dynamism of it all and being strategic about your positioning yourself into this flow, into this river. Build your boat for the river and your paraglider for climbing down the mountain, so you don't have to climb the mountain, because the whole range of options opens itself up to you. Never lose hope, but always look for more options. Look for more optionality to avoid making dumb mistakes and falling down the steep hill, for example, because you try to move too fast because it's getting dark. Whatever, but after every night is always darkest before the dawn. So there will come a new circle it circles back. Even if you lose so much, life will circle back, and everything moves in these kinds of ways, in my opinion, at least in how history moves or how I experience the world. So let us embrace this dynamism of the world, and let us look out for these strategic inflection points which can hound our business down, or that can ruin us almost, so that we can position ourselves early so that we can circumnavigate these big changes or even surf the waves which are coming. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. Yeah, it really does come down to our relationship with reality and this inner posture of having beautiful, exciting visions that we pour ourselves into that are completely loosely held. And when we encounter a reality that is different than our expectations, where we receive new information about the path that we were on versus the path that we want to be on or recognize now that is best for us, it calls for a total surrender and recognizing that when we resist reality, when we try to deny reality, when we try to blind ourselves to reality, it never works. Reality always wins, and resistance truly is futile. And so we can immediately see this, bask in regret, cling on to our attachments, and perhaps we need to feel a little regret so that we can catch in the benefits of the learning. But soon we should recognize that all of this fighting, all of this trying to stop the waves from coming is a waste of energy. And the right response is to embrace the fruits that we already have received from this effort that we have put in, the learning, the growth, the stamina that we have built up, the recognition of the type of situations, and then to completely and radically accept the unfolding of destiny, including the fact that it is not all a straight line. We go forward, we make mistakes, we are constantly looking into a future that is clouded by a dense fog where we cannot see more than 1 meter beyond our face. And this is the dance in the path that is our reality. We will never be able to perfectly crystal ball and find the most efficient way because we just magically make 10,000 right predictions. The world is too complicated. Our minds are too limited. We will never be omnipotent or omniscient. And so therefore, the right way to go is to embrace all of reality as it comes, to recognize this moment clearly that is before us, and to see that maybe I have made mistakes, but we always will need to recalibrate. We need the steering wheel so that we can turn around when we need to and take a different route when we need to, and be flexible and adapt to the radically changing and dynamic nature of the world. And when we can have this posture, it can allow us to be in harmony with the ways that we are wrong, to be in harmony with the quote mistakes that we make, the ways that we bark up the wrong tree, the information that ends up not serving us, the relationships that we think are exactly what we want until we discover that they're the furthest thing from what we want. And this is always going to be a part of our path. And the question truly is not, are we going to always make the perfect decisions and go only on the right paths? This is not an option. The question is, will we try to blind ourselves and cling and force things and discover only after great fight that all of that forcing was futile to begin with, and that we're better off just radically surrendering to exactly what presents itself, to have open eyes and a bendy body and fully give ourselves to however our path unfolds, however our destiny unfolds. And this is my intention for the week, is to recognize, to see, to understand that I am a surfer on the waves and I have no chance of manipulating the waves. I have no chance of stopping the waves. I have no chance of telling a wave when to appear, at what size, or how. My only good option is to have open eyes and to be in the flow and responsive and change and adapt as I need to the ways that the world changes and adapts, and to learn and recognize my own errors and judgment and the ways that they have taken me to here, to cash in and appreciate the learning and the growth, and fully surrender anything and give up my attachments to what I expected to get from this thing or that thing. Any final intentions from you, my friend?
Yeah, man. Thank you for sharing. I don't want to be a man standing at the shore and fighting the waves from coming, because every resistance is futile, as you said. Because waves come and go, there's no need to fight them. You can either accept it or not. And if you accept it, you even can go out in the ocean and try to surf them. Also my intention to try to surf the waves which come up to the point until they break. It's also okay, because if you're in the water, another wave will come, and then may have the opportunity to surf this wave. And I also want to dive with sharks and learn
Me too.
from the ocean. That is my intention for the week, man. Thank you very much for this beautiful conversation.
Likewise, my brother.
Great birthday and a great week. Happy birthday, my man. So good that you
Thank
are here
you.
on this earth.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you, my brother. Great talking to you as always. May we surf the waves beautifully this week and surrender completely to reality. I will talk to you on the next one.
Talk to you soon, man. Bye.
Bye.